Hello lads and lasses! Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to your favourite place for all things black and white. Because let's be honest, Newcastle United isn't just a football club. It's a way of life. And yes, I'll say it loud and proud, the best team in the world. Now let's get straight into it. There's been a bit of noise recently about one of our own, Sean Longstaff, and what the future might hold for him. As we head towards what could be a summer full of change at St James's Park, it looks like Sean might be one of the players at risk of moving on. For those of you who've followed the journey, you'll know Longstaff isn't just another squad player. He's a Geordie lad, born and raised with the black and white in his blood. From coming through the academy to making over 210 appearances for the club, his journey has been one we've all admired. But it seems like things are starting to shift, and maybe not in his favour. Reports from TalkSport say that Sean is now open to leaving Newcastle at the end of the season. It's a big statement, but maybe not a surprising one when you look at the reality of his game time. This season, he's been used less and less. In fact, he's only started 8 Premier League games, and he hasn't started a single one since that tough 4-2 defeat to Brentford. Since then, well, he's been an unused sub in 6 matches. When he does get minutes, they're coming at the tail end, just a few minutes here and there. He came on for less than 5 minutes against Spurs, Southampton, Liverpool, and West Ham. That's not what you'd call a key role. Now don't get me wrong, Eddie Howe's always spoken highly of Longstaff, and rightly so. When Howe first came in, Sean was one of the lads he leaned on. He brought energy, fight, and that bit of local grit we all love. But as the club grows and expectations get higher, we're seeing new players come in, and roles are shifting. It happens in football, but it always hits differently when it's one of your own. So, where could Sean be heading if he does move on? Well, the strongest link so far is Everton. Apparently, David Moyes is a fan of Sean's style and thinks he could add something solid to their midfield. There were whispers of a move in January, but it didn't happen then. Still, the door seems to be open now, and Sean isn't slamming it shut. From a personal point of view, I think we all want the best for Sean. He's given a lot to this club, and if he feels like it's time to try something new, we've got to respect that. It's never easy, especially with a local lad who's lived and breathed the club for years. But football is constantly evolving, and so is Newcastle United. And let's be honest, we're entering a new era. With Paul Mitchell finally in position to handle recruitment, we're expecting some serious movement this summer. The club is planning at least 3 new signings, and that means some players will need to make way. Sean Longstaff might just be one of them. So, what do you think, folks? Should Longstaff stay and fight for his place? Or is it time for him to move on and get regular football elsewhere? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, we'll always back our lads, wherever they go. That's it for the first half of today's update. Stick around, because in part 2, we'll talk about some strong comments made about Eddie Howe's future. Yes, just days before the Carabao Cup final. You won't want to miss it. Alright, welcome back lads and lasses. And if you're just joining us now, you're tuning into the place for exclusive, clear, and passionate Newcastle United updates. Now we're moving on to something that's been stirring quite the debate this week, and it's about the gaffer himself, Eddie Howe. Now before I dive into it, let me be crystal clear. We love Eddie Howe. The man's brought belief back to St James's Park. He picked us up when we were drowning and gave us structure, purpose, and pride again. Champions League football. Cup final. After years of mid-table misery and relegation scraps, Howe has delivered what many thought was impossible. But just days before we go head-to-head with Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final, former Crystal Palace chairman, and current TalkSport pundit Simon Jordan, decided to stir the pot. He came out and said that, in his opinion, Eddie Howe won't be at Newcastle United for the long run. And not only that, he went as far as suggesting that Howe is basically a gatekeeper for someone bigger to come in down the line. Let that sink in for a second. Jordan believes that the club's owners, the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, have much higher ambitions than domestic cups. According to him, they didn't invest in Newcastle just to lift the Carabao Cup or have one good Champions League run. He says they want the Premier League, they want the Champions League, and to get there, he thinks they'll eventually bring in a more elite manager. Harsh words, right? To quote Jordan directly, he said, "They'll take the League Cup in the meantime, because it will mean so much to the fans. But I don't see Newcastle winning long-term trophies under Howe. Not because he's not good, but because of the financial restrictions in place and the owner's lofty ambitions." He even predicted that within 18 months, Eddie Howe could be out of the job, possibly even taking over from Thomas Tuchel at the FA. Imagine that. Now look, we get it. Ambition is high at Newcastle United, and rightly so. We are on the rise. And yes, we all want silverware. But to suggest Eddie Howe isn't the man to do it, that's a tough pill to swallow. Let's remember, this is the same Eddie Howe who walked into a side sitting 19th in the league, winless in 14 games. Since then, he's taken us to a cup final and guided us to finish 4th in the Premier League. That's not just decent, that's incredible. And he's done it while building a squad of hard-working players, not just big-name signings. The likes of Joelinton, Almiron, and even Longstaff, players many had written off, have flourished under his watch. It's easy for pundits like Jordan to sit back and theorize, but they don't see the day-to-day transformation Howe has led. They don't hear the crowd at St. James. They don't see the players fighting for the badge. We do. Every week. Yes, the owners want big success, but that doesn't mean they'll throw away a manager who's connected with the fans, the players, and the city. Howe represents the very spirit of what Newcastle United is becoming. Ambitious but grounded, elite but connected, hungry but humble. And don't forget, Sunday's Carabao Cup final is more than just a chance at silverware. It's a moment of destiny. It's a chance to end a 70-year wait for a major domestic trophy. If Eddie pulls it off, it'll go down in history. He'll have done what no manager has done since 1955. Think about that, and when you hear him speak, you can feel the hunger. Just last month he said, "It's a long time since the club won a trophy. We'd love to end it and we'll work as hard as we can and prepare right to try to do that." That's a man who cares. That's a manager who gets it. So, while Simon Jordan may think Eddie's time is ticking, we believe otherwise. Howe is building something special here. And if you ask any fan walking past the Sir Bobby Robson statue on match day, they'll tell you the same. Let's focus on Sunday. Let's back the lads. And above all, let's back Howe. Because this isn't just a club rebuilding its squad. It's a club rebuilding its legacy. Thanks for sticking with me through both parts of today's video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, leave a comment, and let me know what you think about Longstaff's future and those bold claims about Howe. Until next time, take care of yourselves, back the tune, and remember, we are Newcastle United, the best team in the world. See you soon.